Now I'd like to bring in Representative Tim Burchett, a Republican representing Tennessee's 2nd District. Same question, actually, I'll start out with that I just asked to the congressman right before you. How effective do you feel that Liz Cheney's message to Republicans about those who continue to deny the events of January 6th essentially will that dishonor will continue with them long past that day?
Well, I didn't watch the hearing. I'm not sure what Liz had said. She's pretty much been excommunicated from the party as far as any. I don't really feel like that has any validity within the party now because of some past actions leading up to this. It's when you keep saying Republicans, but the Republicans, as you remember, were denied when Leader McCarthy tried to put people on there. His choices, they were turned back, and that's why it ended up just being Liz and Adam Kinzinger were the only two Republicans on the commission. And the whole thing, honestly, ma'am, I mean, you're at ABC, they've hired James Goldston, who's the Speaker Pelosi did it with taxpayers' money, hired him to produce this event tonight in true Hollywood fashion. Don't get me wrong, it was an awful, awful event. And the folks that, once they crossed those barriers, they could yell and scream, do all they want. But once they crossed those barriers, they were criminals. And I was there. I was actually the last person to leave the House floor. So I have a pretty good, had a pretty good eye view of that when everybody else had left. So I have my opinion of that myself. So
I'm curious to know what your opinion of that is and why you didn't watch tonight. You were breaking up a little bit, but I think I heard you say that you did not watch the hearing. Why was that? It's not a hearing, ma'am.
In a hearing, you allow folks to come in and speak on all sides. This was an orchestrated event. You know it. I know it. You have ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN blocked off all this time for it. An ABC executive was hired with taxpayer money to produce it. I'm not surprised you didn't have an opening intro song with the thing because this thing has just been produced. The riot was horrible. There's no question. I hate that Officer Sicknick lost his life. I was 100 feet away when the lady got shot on the back side of the House chambers there. So, as I stated, I had a pretty good view of history, and it was some pretty bad history. But I felt like it could have been avoided. I felt, what was it, in December of prior to January 6th, there were meetings with the Washington, D.C. police and I believe 8 other law enforcement agencies, the FBI was included. And there was talk of these groups coming in. And yet when I walked up the steps of the Capitol, right before that, there was one Capitol Hill policeman there on the barricades. And he told us we had to go around because the vice president was there. And so we had to turn back around and go back through the tunnel. And so somebody needs to start asking some questions. Why wasn't the National Guard there and why weren't they called in? There was a Black Lives Matters rally a few months prior, a little bit prior to that. And on the Capitol steps, it looked like they were ready for war. And yet it was a peaceful protest. And this came up, and then Speaker or whoever, somebody needs to know why they were not allowed to be there or told not to be there. I talked on January 6th after it had happened, and we were back on the floor that night. I talked to some of the FBI Special Forces folks. I don't know what you call them. They were dressed up in their SWAT outfits, and some of them had civilian clothes under it. And I asked him, I said, "Where were y'all?" And he said, "Well, I was at home watching it on television." And those are the questions I think America wants to know.
Well,
and that's why
I think that, America certainly does want to know. And I think that perhaps is why this investigation is going. And I want to go to that in a moment. But first, if I can just offer one correction, because you suggested that an ABC executive produced it. It's a former ABC executive, so no one who is currently associated with ABC was involved in the production tonight. But you are among the House Republicans who voted against the creation of an independent January 6th commission. Commission, which would have been similar to the 9/11 Commission.
It was not. You all got to quit saying that. It was not an independent commission. It was appointed by Speaker Pelosi. And they already had it, and that agenda was go after President Trump.
Well, you do have two Republicans. You do have two Republicans on the committee, right?
In name only, basically, they're no longer members. They're both going to lose their primaries. They're both bitter about it. You're allowed to editorialize this whole thing, ma'am. I watched some of your views. You're editorializing. You're supposed to be getting news, yet you failed to do that.
How am I failing to do that? How am I failing to do that, sir?
By saying what you just said about this committee. It's not you claim it's bipartisan. It would have been bipartisan.
Well, I just said that there were two Republicans on the committee. That's all. I'm not being adversarial here. I'm actually not editorializing. I'm just stating a fact that you have two Republicans. I mean, you can call them rhinos if you want, but they still very much consider themselves. I didn't use that term. Well, you said in name only. I'm sure they do. Well, yeah, but I said it's what the party would call them. But you cannot deny the biasness in the media. I mean, go back to the election night that Hillary Clinton won, and go back to your own station. The disbelief of the commentators that President Trump was actually winning. I mean, there is a complete biasness within the national media, and that's why your ratings drop. But see, you have that because your ratings are dropping incredibly as we speak. More people are probably watching the Cartoon Network right now. That's fine if they would like to do that. But I do have some questions that I'd like to ask if you would allow me to ask them, okay? Please do. And so I am curious because you talked about how you were there. You were among the last people who were there. So based on what you saw that day and based on your questions as far as why the National Guard was not present for them but was present for the peaceful protest of the Black Lives Matter movement, weeks prior. So based on the questions that you yourself have, do you feel that day needs to be investigated?
I feel like it all shouldn't be investigated, ma'am. I feel like the 19 people that died, the 2,000 officers that were injured, the 97 police cars that were burned, the 100 acts of arson, the 20 individual act looting, and the $2 billion in property damage of the riots of the previous year that you don't hear any mention of in the media, and you all continuously covered that up. You would hold press conferences. It looks really peaceful, and there'd be buildings burning behind you. I mean, $2 billion, and that's why the American public doesn't take it serious. You should lump it all together. They should if they want to take it serious, make it truly bipartisan. Leader McCarthy will be the next of the House. Let him make his appointments, cover everything, and open up everything. Find out why the National Guard was not there. Find out who made that call. Why were Capitol Police? Why did they have expired equipment? Why were they not? Why was their leadership not providing leadership? Why on the House floor did one man run in and yell at us to put our gas? There's gas masks on your desk, but don't put them on. And then they pop tear gas in the Capitol building.
Congressman Burchett, we really thank you for your time. I'm sorry that we're out of time, and I'm sorry that you are not so interested in answering the questions tonight.
Ma'am, that's why the media. That's why ABC will be a dinosaur one day, very soon.
All right, Congressman. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.